Welcome to this episode of the Change Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Tim McBride. This is a platform where I invite leaders, influencers, people I call agents of change, both on the local and national level, to come join me in conversation and share their stories in hopes to inspire others. In this conversation, I have a special guest, Mike Spangenberg. He's the CEO and co-founder of FortyEight. I'm sure everyone listening to this today is going to be familiar with that brand. And a little background, when I moved here 5 years ago, kind of came in with not much of a relationship with the city. You know, being an Arizona State Sun Devil, I left in 2005. And, you know, coming back 10 years later, it was like coming back to a whole new city. And one brand that really kind of stood out as I kind of got my family settled was FortyEight. And as I kind of just immersed myself in the community and started building my business again, I just kept seeing it over and over again in a lot of cool and authentic ways. And it's been a story that I've been, you know, just inspired by and follow regularly, and a product that I wear and consume and share. And I just think it's an amazing story and an amazing product, and really resonates with everyone in this state as you start to pay attention. So I'm excited to have Mike on here to kind of share a little bit about the story, the history, how it came to be, and kind of where they're going. Because if you're not aware, they're working on some really cool things, and I'll allow Mike to share on it. But Mike, if you would first tell a little bit about who you are and kind of your journey into entrepreneurship and starting FortyEight.
For sure. Thanks so much for the introduction, and welcome to Arizona.
Thank you.
I know you went to ASU, so go Devils. But so born and raised in Arizona, which, you know, I'm 35 years old. When at that time it was kind of rare to be growing up from Arizona, right? Like my family's from New York, born and raised in New York. They moved out here to go to school, and then I was born here, right? So I remember like going, you know, growing up in school, and it was kind of like when that question was ever asked, like, who's from Arizona? And I'd be like that one weird dude in school, like raising my hand proudly. And just like, I've always loved sports. I've always had that entrepreneur mindset since a little kid. I spent 15 years in the hotel industry. Like the day I could legally work, I started working at a hotel and worked my way up to become a GM. So I've always loved business, and but I always knew deep down I was like put on this planet, not to be corny, but I was put on this planet to like do something special, and it's really become a dream come true. But like back then, it was like the only thing that was representing Arizona was the 3 for $10 Walgreens shirts, right? And those were, you know, poor quality, and it was corny, and it was just like, all right, we're better than this. And there's a reason why so many people are moving to the valley, and you know, all over Arizona. So I was like, all right, I love clothes. My back to school shopping was my favorite thing to do going to school. So like, I was like, all right, let's, you know, literally I probably spent like a year trying to create like a brand name. And what was really cool and unique of how this came to fruition is that my business partner at the time, Stefan, we grew up together. My dad was our T-ball coach. Never thought we'd have been in business together. We were working together in the hotel industry, and you know, next thing you know, like we were living together at the time, and he comes out, and I probably had like a year worth of like writing down names of a brand, right, that never really made sense. So he comes out brushing his teeth one day, and he says, FortyEight. And he knew what like the concept was, like represent Arizona, let's incorporate sports, let's just make it cool, right? And I said, like, no joke, I said, what's FortyEight? And he was like, Arizona's 48th state. And it was like the aha moment where it really like knew we had it. Like it was like, boom, let's do it. And then like, all right, cool, we have a name, but we need a logo, we need a designer. So we brought on his younger brother, who's a self-taught graphic designer. And next thing you know, we started a business together, submitted for trademark, and here we are today to fast forward. But and that was the reasoning behind it.
And that was 2013?
Yeah, so officially we were trademarked in 2013. So it really started 2011, 2012, kind of that process, you know, getting to that level.
I just want to touch on something you said. I love that you said, I was put on this earth to do something special. Yeah. I think when I hear that, I think there's purpose, there's passion, there's a why behind what you're doing. And I think that's something, especially in the age we're kind of operating in, where it's kind of day to day, having that purpose is so powerful because it allows us to persevere and overcome whatever obstacles are getting in our way. When you say that, was it always kind of in the I guess the retail or the fashion space, or was it kind of, you were just kind of playing with a lot of different areas at that time?
I mean, it's cool how it's evolved into that. But I mean, I don't even really consider us like a fashion brand. I mean, we make, you know, T-shirts and hats. We, you know, the everyday casual wear. But we just wanted to make good quality T-shirt that represents your hometown in a positive way. But one thing you always hear come out of my mouth is like, we want to be known of so much more than just selling T-shirts and hats. Like there's probably a million different better like businessmen and women and designers than us. But like I think what really separated us is our community involvement and genuine and just, learning as we go and accepting, all feedback and really depending on what customers are saying and really incorporating that. But like the community involvement and working with so many different in amazing organizations in the Valley is definitely the biggest reward out of all of this.
And that's very clear in your mission statement. When you read and kind of check out the brand, like community driven is so part of what you're doing. And it's obvious too. Just spend a few minutes on the website and the relationships you've made across so many different categories. And it just seems like an authentic collaboration between both groups. And that's a testament to obviously who you guys are and what you're running.
Thank you.
Often people, put a label or a sticker on something and claim partnership. But I think with you guys really make it your initiative to build the relationship, create a collaboration through a creative experience, which is fun, and out pop something that both parties can be proud of.
Yeah, and relationships, like you just mentioned, is everything to us. I mean, any model, whoever does any type of modeling for us, we're not hiring models at a website. We're developing relationships. Hey, you want a model? You want to shoot? Like it's just everyday people, like just representing a hometown in a cool way.
And the success of your business will come from building authentic relationships.
100%.
You can tell.
Yeah, people want to work with people they like, and that's. Really proof of all the different organizations we worked with in the Valley, whether it's Phoenix Children's Hospital, the Arizona Diamondbacks, or the Phoenix Suns, or like and that's not to like name drop, but it's just like cool that so many organizations, Dignity Health, like so many different organizations want to be a part of our brand because they know our ultimate goal is to be that recognized brand of Arizona and just genuine and just representing a positive way. So especially now more than ever with so much hate in the world, it's like, hey, we just want to support our hometown in a positive, fashionable way.
It's interesting because, I come from the sports background. I had almost 3 years working at Red Bull Corporate in their sports marketing division. I've always had just a strong appreciation for really, credible, unique, and powerful brands, ones that kind of think outside the box too. And, when I moved here, I was kind of blind. I was starting my business and you kind of had my blinders up and didn't have a ton of relationships. And it was awesome to see a brand like yourself kind of just come to the forefront right away. And you'd see it in shops, but online, socially, I'm a big sports consumer. You'd see it connected to all the teams. And I want you to share the story because in a little bit of research I've done and understanding of kind of from launching the company, there's going to be some early wins, right? There's going to be a lot of struggles. I'd love for you to share some of the journey, but there was a great collaboration that happened with one of our local teams that seemed to kind of be that kind of watershed moment, if you will, that kind of allowed you to plant your flag. We're not just here, but we're about to establish something pretty credible. Like, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, 100%. So our biggest takeaway or our biggest win was working with Bruce Arians and the Arians Family Foundation, which, if you don't know him, the former Cardinals head coach and great human, like awesome guy, great family, great nonprofit they have going in the Valley. And it really became a dream come true because we went through, I'll keep it short, we went through Phoenix Fashion Week, which was Emerging Designer Boot Camp, really taught you the business of fashion, not so much about a glamorous runway show. Yeah. And through that, again, back to relationships, Brian Hill, who's the executive director, Phoenix Fashion Week, he knew Jake Arians, which is Bruce Arians' son. It was like the Cardinals' first or second year here in the Valley. And we're like, hey, we'd love to do collaborate, create a design for a player, coach. And we're like, well, BA, he seems like to be the man. So we pitched a couple designs and ended up being like the silhouette of what you see on their foundation logo and what we sold a lot of shirts on. But that really like kind of started the collaboration process, and that really created the structure of like a meaningful relationship. So it's like both parties are getting something out of it. So we took on all the risk of like, selling the shirts and the marketing and all that. Mm-hmm. And we were doing $5 per shirt, went back to Arians Family Foundation, which helped neglected children in the Valley with bad upbringing, right? So it was like, you're buying something with a purpose and a meaning behind it, and we're able to make a difference. So not only like financially we're able to sell a lot of shirts and donate a lot of money, but just creating awareness, like knowing how to volunteer. And of course, like the Cardinals had a ton of success. I think they went 13-3 that year. The shirts were on Monday Night Football. The players were wearing it. All the golf tournaments, and that we're always so grateful for, and we're still really close with them because then, of course, then the Diamondbacks took notice, and then that's what it takes, right? Yeah. People want to know like you're easy to work with, and you have, good quality, and it's just you're good people, right? So having that reputation and getting that credibility under our belt really helped us kind of continue to grow.
So as an as someone that thinks of myself as an entrepreneur, and being in real estate, you kind of have to have that mindset because there's so many of us, and we all, in many ways, kind of look and act and sound the same when you think of a lot of the messaging. And to me, that drives me nuts.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of it makes sense, but I think a lot of it's pretty self-fulfilling. Like, you know, day one, I could write #1 real estate agent on my business card, and there's no truth to that whatsoever, and no one's going to challenge me on it. But in real estate, I feel like so much of the message is so much the same, and a lot of agents are pushing a lot of that, and to no fault of their own, and some people really connect with. But I always wanted to think about the relationships,
Yep.
and it's because of organization and the creative side of getting that out there and build authenticity outside of trying to sell a service. I think you guys have done an incredible job of that. You build a relationship, you build a story, you build a trust, and then you collaborate and create something that's going to be a win-win for both sides. So when you got into this, you worked with two of your best buddy and his brother. How did that come together in terms of like figuring out each other's strengths and roles? Is it still in the same situation it was? Like, what are some of the fun things you've learned in going into business with friends and relationships you have there to build something so special?
Yeah, you talk about challenges. I mean, that was our biggest challenge biggest challenge of starting and sustaining this business, right? So again, like I always loved business. I never would have thought it would have been business together, all three of us, but it just kind of worked out that way of like, again, we were living together and thought of the name and we're like, all right, let's do this. You never know how big it's going to get but like that was a major challenge for many years too. In the first couple of years, we were all working full-time jobs. We were all, hustling after hours, and it was just kind of like, we were all stepping on each other's, toes and doing the same thing. And that's where, like, in hindsight, I wish we, like, you figure that out, that structure right away, the roles and all. And we had different roles, but it was still like everyone was trying to do the same thing. But it's so, like, anyone inspiring to, create something of their own, like, just be very mindful of, if you're going to start business with friends and family, that is probably the hardest thing ever to do. Just because it's harder to have the honest conversations when you really need to have that in business. So we had a lot of tension for many years. And it's just more like we all had the same end goal, right? We wanted to make the best product and take care of our community and all that. But like, we just had so much, being younger, we had so much pride involved, and we always want to like do it better than the other person or who's working harder than that. It was like stupid stuff when you think about it. But really what we learned, to answer your question, is communication is everything. And it can't, like, we took a step back of always texting about everything, and really like, all right, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. we don't miss these meetings. We air out anything. We figure out strategy. We kind of just, that really helped us. And it might seem so simple, but communication, I think, was everything. And fast forward today, Stefan's no longer in the business. He wanted to do something different, which ended up being great for both parties. And we have, our roles, and we have, we've grown the team. But I would say for those first several years, it was very challenging to, just because we all had different interests and goals and everything. And it was just hard to not have those tough conversations become personal.
I can relate. So the company that brought me here, that I've started with a really good friend of mine and another gentleman, it was, at the beginning, it was great. And I think where we struggled, and location had a lot to do with it. One was here, I was in California, and then our kind of CTO was bouncing back and forth. So communication became a struggle. And I think pride became a part of it too, because when you're starting something, you all have this huge ambition behind it, and your expectations, you're going to create something very successful, and you take those little wins and sometimes overinflate them a little bit. And as we got close and the pressure started to hit, I think that's where maybe we fell apart, is in the communication side of things, and not being as aligned in where our strengths and gifts were, and really just trusting in each of those areas. And I am the believer it was never meant to be, and I've been able to take a lot of those lessons and implement them into everything I'm doing now, and trying to elevate, like, real estate, for example, to be a community-driven platform that brings people together and serves the greater good and impacts our community, not just, serves a transaction. But, in it, if as I reflect back, communication is so key. And when they are friends, it is challenging. And, I know we failed, and that's okay. I think having kind of the perspective to think, like, not all the things are going to work out the way you envision, and just take the lessons and learn. So are there any, like, key lessons that you've taken over the years from some of the big wins and some of the losses that you're able to implement today to kind of make you guys stronger?
Yeah, I would say, and too, like, adding on to our dynamic, not only were, like, because I didn't really get to know Nick until we got into business, even though it was Stefan's younger brother. But now you're talking about two brothers that are only, like, most brothers like love each other, but like they're like best friends, right? So
Okay.
like to have even more, like that even makes it that like
so you're the third wheel now.
As an extra layer. Yeah, no, a lot of times I felt, and not that I needed like to feel like we're all, you know, all together, all this, but like I do feel like, you know, I've felt like separate conversations were happening or this or that. But what to answer your question, I think like the biggest takeaway is like if you want to go into business, like you better be solving a problem, and you better have like a major passion to be doing what you're doing, because and be able to and know that you need to sacrifice a lot and have a lot of patience. I know that was several different things, but
yeah.
all that ties into, again, those first couple of years, we weren't taking $1 out of the business. We were working full-time jobs and having the passion, the grind to like, you know, work on it after hours and sustain it, and just being humble and you know, those small wins, knowing that, okay, what's the next 5 things we have to do? Because even now, that's my biggest, you know, challenge, and what I look forward to the most, but also stress about the most is like, okay, cool, we keep growing year over year. We're like, what's the next 5 things we need to do to be innovative and not like become complacent and not be the brand like, oh, that used to be a cool brand, but not anymore, right? So I know I answered a lot right there, but I think the biggest thing that's going to solve all that is like respect, like especially have partners, like having that same respect, you know, defining each other's roles, and then just communication. But like you better have the sacrifice, or you better be willing to sacrifice, you better have the passion to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, without the passion, it's never going to happen. But I love how you were proactive and set a time once a week. Guys, let's sit down and just air it all out.
That was a game changer. Like I know it seems so simple, but like even now, because Stefan no longer being in the day-to-day business, like Nick and I, like no matter what, it's like like every Tuesday at 9 a.m. we meet and we air everything out. We plan the week, you know, and it's obviously adding more. So it's just communication is just everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now more than ever, like we're having to pivot and change and be flexible in our operations and in our planning. How has 2020 really affected you on a positive way and a negative way? Because I think there's a lot of things that I've seen that are pretty amazing that you guys have been able to lean into, and I think a lot of it comes down to relationships. But has 2020, how's COVID affected you personally, the business, and kind of how you're planning for the future, because you're doing some neat things?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think like it's been a huge learning lesson, but like I'm just so grateful that we're still in business, and a lot of that is just because I think my mindset, and not to be like again corny, but it's just like you got to make the best out of it, right? Like you can't allow the world or negative things to really bring you down. And like those first couple, those week or two when COVID first hit, we're like, oh my God, like it was just like no one knew what was going on. So you're like thinking the worst, and you're like, okay, all right, that's all behind us. Like, how are we going to make the best of this, right? Yeah. So like a couple of things that we did, like personally, that I think was a major benefit for all this to happen, because I'm always like go, go, go. And it's like hard for me to ever get like actually caught up and like to, spend some quality time for myself. And so like it forced me to take a step back and not like have to say yes to every single event or networking opportunity or being out. So it like really allowed me to kind of get caught up, like, and just feel, like my mind, like just give rest to my mind. Yeah. But like one thing we took, like we implemented right away. I was like, all right, well, what can we do to really, continue to do what we're doing, right? We implemented a shirt that was that helped give back to Matthews Crossing Food Bank and Local First. So like right away we were thinking like, how could we help the community, right? And then we also implemented a free mask, whatever. And that was before like masks became required and became like really trendy. But we implemented like, let's try it. Like it was just a very kind of affordable, comfortable like mask, a branded mask that we included in every online order. And those first couple of months, like it went through the roof, right? Really? So like we had to close, of course, just like everyone else for a little while. But because of that, like, and I think so also for the last 7.5 years, we've built the community, and people know we're genuine loyal. Like they stepped up big and supported us. So it was like incredible to see that support, and it actually forced us to hire more help and add more team members during the time. So it was just awesome. Like incredible to know like when so much bad stuff is happening, unfortunately, like we were able to kind of sustain it and get through it. And now we've come back to reality a little bit, but it's like, all right, what's the next 10 things we could be doing, like I mentioned earlier. So now we've started a foundation, and which has always been on our list, and it's allowed us to really get organized and create processes that were kind of on the back burner, and just really like organize our business and really plan ahead for many more years.
I love that you just mentioned that, because that's something that I was really excited to talk to you about, is that you guys have always been kind of able to collaborate with all these organizations and serve their story by collaborating with your creative abilities and the products that you have. But now you've kind of taken to the next level, which means you've, in my opinion, like from just watching how established you are, it's like now it's time for us to have our own stance as well, because there are so many great stories, and you can only help so many, and you are one that I think helps the most, because you just have the ability to bring value to every kind of platform at every level, and make it unique and make it valuable. So as you've started this foundation, what inspired that, and and if you're able to share, because I know it's pretty early on, what is the mission, and kind of what are the expectations you have, so people can learn about it and hopefully support you the way you've supported so many other organizations.
100%, yeah. And the passion and the reason behind it, it's always been there, right? Like, we really want to create an organization that's not just selling t-shirts and hats, right? Like I mentioned before. So foundation was a big part of it. And we already do so much in the community with its co-branded designs. Again, it's not always a financial benefit, but just creating awareness. And I think like what always, again, is the biggest reward and the best feeling in my heart and a team's heart is just like be able to make a difference by just selling t-shirts and hats, right? Like, so that's what's cool, really making a foot. And when you hear so much awesome feedback, like you've mentioned, is just like dope. Like, this is why we're doing that, right? So that was the reason behind it. And then we brought on Alyssa, who has plenty of years of nonprofit experience, and she was connected with Nick, my other business partner. So everyone that's on our team always has some type of relationship or tie, right? So that's important to us. So I was like, I had the vision, like, start a nonprofit, and she did all the heavy lifting, and we got that going. We just had our second board meeting, and that was cool. It was like strategically, like, bringing on people of, young people that want to really think it's cool to make a difference, right? And our kind of pillars will be focused on entrepreneurship and the youth, right? And also leveraging like our partnerships we already have, right? Like, how can we do bigger and better events and make bigger differences with relationships, and not try to do all this at once, because ultimately everyone's kind of doing the same thing, but like we feel like entrepreneurship's a big passion where we feel like we could add value. We also feel like the youth needs the most to really become a great human, and how do we make the world a better place? And I think it starts with the youth. So we're still like we're just finished our second board meeting, like I mentioned, and we're really figuring out our first kind of virtual event that we're going to do to kind of launch it. But I'm excited just to continue to see it grow and evolve, and just how many people have reached out knowing we've launched it already in infant stages of like, I want to help. And that's what's cool, is I think so many people in the Valley or all over the world, like there's so much younger people and older, whatever, like they want to do good, but they don't know where to get started. So that's where we always kind of want to leave our mark.
Well, I've always believed that it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Yep. And a lot of people can like go on LinkedIn and say they know all the people, but there's no real relationship, and they don't know, there's no value. And to have that many people reaching out means so much, in my opinion, the good works you've done, and the real relationships you built, and the authenticity of your brand and your vision for what you built. No doubt that's going to be able to leave a lot of impact on a lot of lives, and it's awesome to see, because so often we can get caught up in the numbers, and the numbers have value, but
that's real too.
Absolutely.
It's hard not to.
And if you don't have that vision of serving a bigger purpose, then eventually you're going to burn out on some level, or slow it down, or plateau. But it's awesome to see you guys constantly pushing and going outside the box. And as someone in real estate appreciates branding and marketing, I appreciate what you guys do, because it's always awesome to be able to kind of review how you're operating, the messaging, just being creative, and kind of take some key learnings and try to implement into my space and my world. And I'm on the same mindset. I don't want to just serve a transaction. I want to serve a greater purpose, and I want to use the vehicles I have to connect with great programs that are serving and benefiting lives in our city, and bring more attention to them.
Yeah, and I love how you brought that up too. And it always ties back to relationships, but it's just like we don't ever want to be known as just a transaction. Like, how do we add value, right? And it's just also leveraging our relationships, partnerships. Like, it's cool to know these people, these influential people in the Valley, but like, how could we actually utilize those relationships to make a bigger impact? And so that's why we feel like we have kind of a unique model, and how we can really make a bigger, and it's been tough. Like, you always want to say yes to like all these organizations that you work with, and they want like potentially, we always had to, on the for-profit side, has to be some type of revenue generator where it's like, okay, well, we'll sell the shirt and we'll do the $5 donation back. Like, there's always got to make sense financially, right? So like the goal of the foundation is maybe we can then get to a point where we can write, bigger checks, or write just checks in general, or do, bigger and better things, of course. And that's what the foundation will allow us, and doing fundraising and just kind of being unique and doing something different.
So before we kind of bring it to a close, because we could talk for a while, like a couple questions. First off, you've done a lot of collaborations. You've created a lot of really unique product. What is your favorite, personal favorite? Bruce Arians one's awesome. But outside of that one, do you have one that kind of just sticks with you and is kind of your go-to, or just one that you're just really proud of and would want to share?
Yeah, no, I mean, the corporate thing would say would be like they're all, and that is true. Like, we're nothing without our partners and stuff. But like, I mean, I know you mentioned BA, but that is probably Phoenix Children's Hospital is probably very near and dear to my heart, because it also became. I got a good friend out of it named Isaiah, and he's, all that came from actually at the beginning a failed opportunity to really create a concert, with a group of people that, but then developed a relationship working Phoenix Children's Hospital every year. So Phoenix Children's Hospital, of course, but Bruce Arians and Arians Family Foundation, like Jake Arians, a really good friend of mine. He lives in Chandler now, and like just like the good they do, and like when you get to know them, like the humans they are, and like it's so much more than football, like he'll say at any time. So and again, that always is near and dear to my heart, because that's really what, like, kind of they took the first chance on us, and then it really gave us a lot of credibility. So they're all equally as important, but like the the Arians Family Foundation, CLAB, and then Phoenix Children's Hospital are two that really stick out.
So I'm a member of the Fiesta Bowl Yellow Jackets, and one of the statements that I love, because I've always seen sport as such a powerful platform that brings people together and serves such a greater purpose than just entertainment. And growing up in Vancouver, the Canucks were, I'm a big hockey guy, the Canucks were always, I always saw them as role models, and they were always in the Ronald McDonald Home working with kids. They're always just key figureheads in the community, serving the needs of others and being a source of inspiration. And I've always kind of had a journey with sport in the sense of seeing it as something with so much potential in it. So being in this day, there's so many teams that are doing a lot of good. You've done some stuff with all of them. Is there one team that you have a stronger loyalty than others? If so, I hope it's the Coyotes.
Because we are corporate partners with the Diamondbacks, and why, everyone in that organization, especially now things have changed a little bit with people having to go, like, turnover and such, but like everyone in that organization have become like really good friends too, and you can just tell it's not about the transaction and the corporate dollars and all that. They really want to add value, and they really want to do good in the valley too. So I wouldn't say like they're more important than any others, but like we have an amazing relationship with the Diamondbacks, and Jeff and Allison and Judd and Graham, and just like everyone you meet in that organization, and Zach Hall, who used to be Baxter, he's a great friend of mine. And so just so many friendships have come out of that too. It's just there's a lot of good people in that organization, and others too, but that's who we work the most with. So I would say that. And
personally, is there a team you follow a little more than
Cardinals is mine. Like, I'm a diehard football fan. Steve Kime's a good friend of mine, so like I'm rooting for him big time. But when that's where my most passion comes out. Like at a football game, people probably wouldn't even recognize me. So I'm excited for this year's start, but the Cardinals are definitely my number one team.
But when the Titans come to town, or that you guys come to Tennessee, I'm a huge Titans fan. We'll have to get together and watch that one.
Little drama going on with.
Unfortunately, we have to be the first team. All asymptomatic, they're saying, which makes it tricky. We're hoping for Monday or Tuesday. It's a good rivalry against the Steelers.
It doesn't seem like it'll be much of a postponement.
No, so it's just the reality. We got to kind of keep moving forward. I had on my show 2 weeks ago Andre Wadsworth with the Cardinals,
cool.
and one thing he said during this is like he was taught as a defensive end to always be on your toes, because if you're flat-footed, you're done before you even start. And like especially during these times, just if you're not on your toes, then you can't pivot, you can't adjust, you can't make the necessary changes. And he's like, I use that in life. And I think the Tennessee is quick to adapt and put the right messages out there, and the NFL will do it as well. And we'll just keep moving forward.
And he owns a ice cream business too, right?
Yeah,
I met him once. He's an awesome guy.
He's a very amazing human being, and started at Impact Church. We were talking a lot about that, how just a Bible study with his guys. He wrote a little letter to Pat Tillman and a few other guys and hoped they'd show up, and it just grew and grew and became a place where people could just be in fellowship with each other and just be honest and feel safe. And then wives came, then friends came, and boom, Impact started, and now they're building a huge church, and their outreach is all over the world. And he never saw any of it happening, but he's like, I just took a chance.
Wow, so he's a part of Impact Church.
Yeah, he's the executive pastor, and he's just an amazing human being. And he basically just said, I took a chance and wrote a little letter and put it on their thing.
If you don't try, if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to know if you're going to 100% fail or succeed. So
100%. So what are the best ways people can continue to follow your story, the journey of the brand, the messaging you're putting out, the foundation, if that's available yet? How do you want people to, retail? I know you're in 12 locations?
Yeah, the combination of we have our 2 locations, and then we sell to other retailers throughout the valley. Easiest way to follow us, keep up to speed with us is state48.com. That's all spelled out, and all our social channels are at state48. Again, that's all spelled out. And we're very active on social media, and we just always try to communicate the best we can. You could join up to our newsletter too, but hopefully you join the community and you like what we're doing, and we're always welcome feedback. But at State48, it's the easiest way.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions to you directly, are you available?
Yeah, 100%. I love that. So
perfect. My
email, mike@state48.com, or you can reach out, info@state48.com, or send us a DM. We're very active on social. So
awesome. Well, you're a wealth of information. It's an incredible story to watch, and the success you've achieved. And when I say success, again, it's not about the dollar amount, right? It's just I've only been here 5 years, to see the relationships you guys have created on so many levels, and the value that you provide, and now just the growth that I get to watch as just a consumer is inspiring.
And that's what's so motivating. That's what's so great about hearing people like you say that, because you work in it every day, and you're just all right, what do we need to do better? And then you get out and about in the community, and people say nice things like that, and it's working and making a difference. So thank you for the kudos.
It is. You got a big fan here. I'm excited to continue to support and see kind of the impact you guys are going to continue to make, and where it goes from there. Any last closing statements, or is there one kind of big vision you guys are working on that you want to share?
That's a great question. I mean, again, we'll be opening up a location downtown Gilbert soon. Okay. The goal to grow the brand is open up more locations, because it has been proven to be successful. We have our location downtown Phoenix at the Churchill, our headquarters in Chandler. But just keep up to speed on that. But we have a lot of things cooking. We're expanding the product line. We've got the foundation going. We're offering screen printing, embroidering without State48, marks on it. So we're just constantly trying to improve and listen to what people want.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. Watching social media, you are all over the place. So just for making time, I truly appreciate it. And when I started this, it was to pay tribute to people like yourself and brands like yourself. And part of my brand is I'm a huge hat guy. And New Era is my go-to. And I always saw hat as the first thing someone puts on when they win a championship. It also represents community. And when you put on the brand, you're part of a bigger family. And I've always just collected them. So when you come on my show, please have a New Era snapback change agent, just because that's what you are in our community. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm going to be a huge supporter and continue to be a voice to get more people connected to what you're doing.
Definitely rock this.
Hopefully it fits. I got a big hat, and these snapbacks.
I have a big head too, but the New Era snaps are always good. So.
Yeah, good. But I appreciate your time, and we'll make sure that all of your contact information is up when this goes out, so people will be able to connect with you. And guys, really pay attention to State48 and just the authenticity of the brand, the messaging, the relationships, and the collaboration. It's super unique, and it's an honor to be a fan of it, and to be a consumer of the product, and to build a relationship, have this conversation with you. So thanks Mike.
I appreciate it.
We'll enjoy your day, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you so much.